Welcome in our Flyers Talk podcast. Ashlyn, Sullivan, and Jordan Hall with you this morning, recapping a big win over Vancouver, 5-2, an excellent win, biggest crowd so far this season, and you could really feel it. It was a really exciting atmosphere, and now one game to go against Chicago before the holiday break. But as of now, taping this Tuesday morning, Flyers in second place in the Metro, and on post-game last night, I talked to Alan Scott about this, and Jordan, I'm sure you'll agree. If you would have said during training camp when Rick Tocchet gets brought in as the head coach, we still have a lot of questions of what this is going to look like. If you would have said, hey, they're going to be second in the Metro with a chance to stay there right before the holiday break, I don't know if a lot of people would have believed us, but everyone would have agreed, like, okay, yeah, we'll take that. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people would have signed up for that. I think most people would have signed up for that, especially, Ashlyn, if you consider that they would lose Tyson Foerster, too, to injury. I would have been like, oh, wow, they're only going to get Foerster for a quarter of the season, or I should say a third of the season. I would have been a little concerned. But I think a big reason why they are where they are, Ashlyn, is Dan Vladar in net and just how good he has been. Like, that was the position everyone knew they had to address. And when they brought in Vladar, I'm not sure anyone really knew a whole lot about him. He was a backup in Calgary. So whenever he did play, he was playing probably late at night in Western Canada. And he has totally answered the bell. Again, very good last night against the Canucks. That was the 14th time in 21 starts that he's given up 2 or fewer goals. He's been outstanding, and I think you have to give so much credit to him for, one, I think the Flyers are helping him by blocking less shots, allowing him to see the puck. I think they're playing more of a possession game. These are things Rick Tocchet wanted to implement. But two, I think Vladar has just been so good as well. And just how critical, Ashlyn, do you think he's been to what they've done?
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive. And I think everyone has to appreciate with Dan Vladar, it's just the perfect story of seizing an opportunity. And a lot of times, unfortunately, you see where there is an opportunity and you don't grasp it. And with Vladar, I've been really impressed. I'll go back to sitting down with him at Flyers Media Day and talking to him about being the backup, because that's what I thought he was going to be. And he very politely corrected me. He's like, no, I'm here to be a starting goaltender. I'm here to compete. And, I love Sam Ersson. I've learned to love him as a teammate, but he very clearly saw this as a chance to kind of rewrite his career. And you're right. No one really knew anything about him. He never really got the chance to do this or prove this, because Calgary, obviously an incredibly talented goaltender already there, where it was kind of just assumed, that Dan Vladar is going to be the backup there. So I think it's awesome. I think it's great that he has seized this, where at this point, going into the holiday break, it is no question he's the number one goaltender. The other side of that is your bum for Sam Ersson a bit. But at times I can't be bummed for him, because it's kind of the opposite side of the coin there, Jordan, where he did get every opportunity to seize this moment and staple it that he was going to be the starting goaltender. And I just think at this point in his career, it's better to be a 1A, 1B situation, where Sam Ersson right now is the 1B.
I would agree. And I do think Samuel Ersson had his opportunities, and I think he's been a really good teammate as well. Whenever they've talked, Vladar or Ersson, they've both been very complimentary of each other. They praise one another. Ersson, I remember when he started to lose starts and Vladar started to gain steam, and it was looking like Vladar was going to take over as the number one. Ersson was like, hey, he's playing incredibly, and you got to ride the hot hand, and didn't take anything away from Vladar. So I think that's good, is that they have a very good relationship in net. I think that's important as a tandem. And I think, Ashlyn, really the storyline going into the Christmas break will be, how will Dan Vladar hold up down the stretch? As we all know, his career high in games was 30. And he's going to really break that easily, I would expect, this season. The Flyers are really going to be using him as a number one. So that will, I think, be the big question, is how will he hold up down the stretch? Is he ready for these types of games, these number of games where he's never seen this in his career? But I think all signs point that he'll be okay if he continues to play like this.
Right. And that's it. It is going to really boil down to the play of goaltending. We've seen the offense tick up a little bit, but we know this Flyers team is going to win a lot of close games. And that is a ton of pressure on your goaltender. How many games has it been this season where Dan Vladar has to be perfect in the third period, or Sam Ersson has to be perfect in the third period? We talk about it a lot of times on our second intermission lives where Al always makes the point, like, you're putting so much pressure on your goaltender, and it's just assumed that he cannot let a goal in. Even a fantastic shot, he can't let it in the third period. It's risky. It's risky to have your team run this way, but I am encouraged at least that they're getting a teeny bit bigger of a cushion with these goals we're seeing. I mean, a 5-goal game, we rarely saw that last season, especially with Tyson Foerster out. When that happened, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know how you're going to overcome this. Tyson Foerster out 5 months. Everything's going right. They're clicking. Tyson Foerster fixing the power play a little bit. And then he has that really unfortunate injury. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. And I've already been warned many times, even by Rick Tocchet, to not get too ahead of myself. I interviewed him yesterday before his game against Vancouver, the first time he was facing his former team. And I asked him about Denver Barkey, getting ready only for his second game with the Flyers. And he admitted to himself, like, I can't get too ahead of myself. There's times where he's going to have to go back down, or he's not going to be able to stay back up. And I thought it was interesting, Jordan, you were there against the Rangers when it was Denver Barkey's debut with the Flyers, and Tocchet post game was like, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he stays up. And I'm like, Coach, you're the coach. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I was going to say,
you were calling this. Like, and I got to give Denver Barkey credit. We knew he was talented. We knew he was fast. We knew he could play, and he had the skill. A lot of times you don't see with a player as young as him, 20 years old. You're going to deal with the mistakes. You're going to deal with being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Denver Barkey's IQ, I was down there ice level with Scott yesterday for the third period hit, and Scott's like, you never see a player this young be in the places that he's supposed to be at the right time. And that's what's pretty impressive, his IQ.
Big time. And I think everyone looks at his size like he looks like a kid.
Yeah.
And he's 5'9", generously, probably. He's
Generously.
Probably around 170.
When I saw 5'10" and I was standing next to him at intermissions, I was like, something's off here.
I'm not sure about that exactly. Like, I think Bobby Brink was listed around 5'8" when he was coming up as a prospect. And that's where I think
that seems about right. Yeah.
And he's not big. He's like 170, 175 pounds. And it makes you think, like, how has he been so successful all this time through junior hockey, through just 26 games of pro hockey before coming up to the Flyers? It's just because he's so smart. Like, he knows how to play. He knows how to find areas of the ice to score goals. He knows how to compliment his teammates, and he competes. Like, he really competes. I remember so many times at development camps, seeing him, and not even development camps, at rookie training camp, where he would go up against a bigger guy, like along the boards, and you think there's zero chance he's going to win that puck race or puck battle, and he comes out with the puck. He knows how to win those battles because, one, he competes, and two, he's very smart. And yeah, Ashlyn, I've just been kind of blown away in his first 2 games, just how much he looks like he belongs, and how much he looks like he could be one of those pieces that makes up for Tyson Foerster's loss. Like, that's opportunity. Foerster went down, Barkey gets an opportunity, and so far he has looked very good. And Ashlyn, I think they're going to need more and more of that from a number of guys. And one guy even on Monday night was Owen Tippett. Like, 10 shots on goal. He has one of those highlight reel plays where you just shake your head and say, wow, man, if he can do that more often than not, the Flyers will be okay. Who are the guys that you're looking for to step up in Foerster's absence? I think George thinks Tip is one of them.
George is team Tippett. Yes, George, unfortunately, I got him a stuffed lamb. It was his birthday over the weekend, his 4th birthday.
Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday, George. HBD, George. And unfortunately, George has already taken all the stuffing out of the lamb this morning. So that's the side quest as you hear the squeaks. George, please kill the squeaks at this moment. Yes.
He's excited about the Flyers being in second place. So
he is fired up for the Flyers. Yes. And he is team Tippett. I got to look at Travis Konechny, a guy that I think is at a bit of an up and down year, similar to Tippett, a little inconsistent. But when you look at Foerster's injury, I don't think that is just you put it on one guy to overcome Foerster's injury. I'm really encouraged, and I think it's awesome for Flyers fans, really, especially, that the Flyers are giving chances to the younger kids. I'd like to see more young guys come up, because at some point you're going to have to pull the curtain back on this. We hear all about these prospects and hear all about the future of the Flyers, and I can't blame fans for saying, okay, great, when are we going to see them? Like, when is the time? So I wouldn't mind more kids coming up. Like, give them a chance, see what they can do. it's a bummer when you see kind of this shifting, and it happens in every sport with every team. Garnet Hathaway being a healthy scratch, Nick Deslauriers being a healthy scratch. Scott talked about it in pregame the other day. I thought it was really interesting context. He's like, when he was 18, he got brought up. I took someone's spot. I pushed someone out when I was 18. And then he said on the other side, when I was 35, I got pushed out by a young kid. Like, it's just the circle of life. And I felt like at times the Flyers had to get to that circle of life a little quicker. And now I'm encouraged that they're giving some of these younger guys a chance.
That's such great perspective too. Like, because like you feel for a guy like Garnet Hathaway and Nicholas Deslauriers, and they're both healthy scratches on Monday night, but you can't deny what you see when guys come in and give them a spark, like young kids. Like Nikita Gurbenkin plays one of his best games of the season, 22 years old, and you're like, wow, this kid needs to play more. And then Barkey gets, his look, and he's played really well in 2 games, and you can't deny that. And I think even Garnet Hathaway, I'm sure, sitting there watching, is understanding like, hey, right now, yeah, these kids are getting a look. If they're playing well, they need to play. And I know he's as competitive as they come, but you're right. This is pro hockey. And if you don't produce, some young kids are going to get an opportunity and they might seize it. And I think we're seeing some young guys show what they can do. Now, it's going to come down to doing it consistently, but those are 2 depth pieces, Barkey and Gurbenkin, that when they play well like that, the Flyers have a chance to put up 5 goals. They have a chance to score and maybe run away from some teams and be in the opportunity that they are in second place. And you think of the guys like Trevor Zegras, Christian Dvorak, who have been huge offseason additions, and Dvorak even coming back in this game, Ashlyn, after missing Saturday's game in New York. He's like just a steadying influence, it seems like, and a guy you can rely on. So really, if they get these contributions throughout the lineup up front, I think they're going to be okay without Tyson Foerster, as big as a blow as that is.
Right. And we all know a lot of this boils down to the play of Matvei Michkov. Man, has he been a headline. Whoa. Especially Monday. And Rick Tocchet, he had his moment. To me, it was so similar. I said it on pregame. It was so similar to the Nick Sirianni, AJ Brown situation, where every single week, and it's no one's fault. It's the fans wanting to know why AJ Brown isn't getting his targets. It's the reporters having to ask the questions. Hey, this is one of your best players. Why isn't he getting the time? And Sirianni getting fed up. Why am I getting asked this 8 times a press conference? That was Rick Tocchet's moment. And you see all sides of this. You can't blame Rick Tocchet for being frustrated. This is a team game, and it's way more than Matvei Michkov. But it's the reporter's job to ask the questions that fans are wondering, which is, why is Matvei Michkov not progressing this season? This season really boils down a lot to Michkov, frankly, being more consistent. And I think you're seeing it. I thought that was one of his best games Monday against Vancouver. And it's interesting. I would encourage fans to not, especially with Matvei Michkov, not look at the stat sheet, because there's times where Michkov has a couple goals, and frankly, he doesn't play well away from the puck in those games. And then there's games where he just gets that one empty netter. But I thought that was his most disciplined game I've seen in a long time. So a lot of times, especially with Michkov, it's way more than the stat sheet.
Absolutely. And when I was watching the game, Ashlyn, and he didn't have a goal or a point, I'm like, man, it's a shame he's not going to have anything to show for this game, because he is really playing well. Like you said, discipline. He was playing around the net. He looked active. He looked like the Matvei Michkov of last season. So I thought he earned that empty netter. I really did. I think he deserved that one. And it's so funny you mentioned the Eagles, Ashlyn, because I was going to ask you, you've been covering the Eagles all season. You're around that. And as we all know, that team can have some drama around some of its star players. And this is just, I think, very similar to that. It's like, I wrote about it. It's big time players in this city get big time attention. And Matvei Michkov is a guy that's been very much put up as this, like, not savior, but this pillar to this rebuild. Danny Briere and Keith Jones picked him up at the airport. They carried his sticks. When he was drafted, Mishkov was talked about as being this player that the organization has not seen. Danny Briere was saying, we don't have anyone like him in the organization. So he's been deemed as this huge piece, and he's a star. He had a star-like season last year, and he hasn't played well this season. He's been too up and down. So naturally, the head coach is going to get questions about it. But I don't blame Tocchet for being frustrated. It was a lot of questions about Mishkov off the bat, and he's right. The season's been pretty good so far, and they have had a lot of other players playing well. But I think ultimately Tocchet gets it. Like, I think he had a moment of frustration, Ashlyn, uh, and it happens. But I think he knows, like, in this market, Mishkov is going to be asked about. I mean, Rick Tocchet's a Flyers Hall of Famer. He knows how it is here, and I just think he was a little frustrated, and I don't blame him for blowing off a little steam. I don't think it was personal at all, and I think he expects more Mishkov questions down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when the whole question surfaced from a shift change and when to get off the ice. And Scott also had really great perspective on that. And what Tocchet can't say is because Michkov came in not in the shape that he was supposed to be in, he can't be on the ice for these long shifts. You're seeing him getting tired. And Scott's like, that takes a player probably being more mature than 20 years old. No, hey, I got to get off because I'm hurting my team at this point. And Scott's like, that's such a unique decision to try to figure out of when to get off when you're not at the energy you're supposed to be, when you're a young player and you want to make plays and you want to be on the ice to be a difference maker, but at times you don't have the juice to do so. And he's like, that's a really fine line to try to navigate. And you see Tocchet on the bench trying to navigate with Michkov in game time. And that's a really tough angle to work through.
Absolutely. And like, this isn't easy. Mishkov's not an easy player to coach. I'm not saying he's difficult, but he's a 21-year-old kid from Russia in his second NHL season. We saw with John Tortorella last season. There was bumps in the road, and I think Tortorella really did his best to handle it. And I give John Tortorella credit. I thought he talked about Mishkov very openly all season to the media. He never got fed up with for the most part, he didn't really get fed up with the questions about him. He understood how important this player was to the rebuild. And I think Tocchet gets it too. I think he understands how important this kid is to rebuild, but it's not an easy process. There's the language barrier. I think Mishkov's picking up English, but of course it's not perfect. But Tocchet is working with him a lot. Like, I see him all the time, talking to him before practices, after practices. They go over things. And I give Mishkov credit. He seems like he's very open to it. He's never, like, just looking at his body language, he's always open to the feedback. He wants to go over things. Like, he cares. I think he's competitive. Like, it matters to him. He's been one of the first people on the ice every single time I'm there, Ashlyn, is Mishkov. Like, he's always first out there getting in extra work. So it matters to him. I think it matters to Rick Tocchet. But yeah, this is a kid that's going through that sophomore season that's really difficult, where expectations are high. You've tasted the success in the NHL. We all know it's no secret that he didn't come into camp in the best shape. And so perhaps he's going through the struggles of his sophomore season, and Rick Tocchet's trying to navigate it and also navigate it through the media too, which isn't easy. And I think he's feeling it a little bit at times. I remember in October, he was like, man, I know this guy's a lightning rod around here. And he is. Fans feel very strongly about him one way or the other. And it kind of reared its head a little bit the other day with Tocchet getting a little frustrated by the questions after a morning skate when the team's in a pretty good position.
Yeah, it won't be the last time it happens. And that you know what the great thing about that is? It's because the Flyers are relevant. And that's where these questions are coming from. And it's the backlash. If we're a good team, why are we talking about one player? So I think to boil all that down, the Flyers are in a great spot because of that. Like, if the Flyers weren't relevant, this wouldn't be a story. So I think it's cool. I think the Flyers are back in the conversation. Michkov's back in the conversation. Tocchet's handling it. Like, this is where they wanted to be heading into the holiday break.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny. Like, you see the conversation that in Madison Square Garden that Tocchet and Yogi Sivkovsky was having with Mishkov on the bench. And like, I saw it and I just thought, like, that's pro sports.
Yeah.
I mean, a player gets emotional during a game and coaches have to coach. And like, Tocchet to me was really seeming like he was calming the situation down a little bit, letting Mishkov know, hey, everything's okay. Here's what we're doing on this power play rotation with Denver Barkey. Like, I know that was going to get blown out of proportion. And I think Rick Tocchet probably was a little irritated that it probably did get blown out of proportion online. But to me, that's pro sports. I mean, like, it's not a red carpet and roses all the time. Like, these aren't kids where it's like, hey, everything's okay. Like, Mishkov's going to get emotional. He's competitive, and Rick Tocchet's a coach, and he's going to coach, and there's going to be some confrontation. So I really thought that was nothing. But if anything, you're right. The Flyers are relevant right now, and I think that's a pretty good thing. like Ashlyn, would you have expected Mishkov to have 20 points at this point and the Flyers would be in second place? I'm not sure I would have signed off on that.
No, especially with TK being a little inconsistent, Tipping being inconsistent. I would have had to think that all three of those would have had to have amazing years at this point to get here. Yeah. And if I have to credit one player, it's Dan Vladar. Like that is the reason they are in this spot. I know it's a team game.
Yeah.
But I credit Dan Vladar.
It's got to boil down to goaltending. It's just like sometimes you just need saves. And he, like, even going into the third period on Monday night, it's a 1-0 game. And you're right, Al mentioning how like perfect the goalie has to be. Like they were out playing Vancouver, but he was really good too, to give them a chance to be in that 1-0 game and then have them kind of explode in the third period. So like, yeah, it's the most important position in the game. It's so much like quarterback in the NFL. It's a critical position. They addressed it this offseason, and Vladar is really just jumping on the opportunity.
He is. Credit to him and credit to the Flyers. A great spot going into this holiday break. We'll see what happens in Chicago, but I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, a happy holidays, and we will see you next week for our next Flyers Talk.